Let's have some fun. Welcome to unrestricted free agent season, okay? I've got the list of the who's who, la creme de la creme of the unrestricted free agents. Welcome to speculation season. Welcome to tampering season. One of my favorite rumors I read over the weekend was that the Leafs are ready to file tampering charges with Vegas if they're unable to get like a sign and trade deal done, that the Leafs are ready to fire a tampering charge.
That's not a rumor.
And apparently the NHL is ready to make an example of a team that, quote,
that's
tampered.
That's not a rumor. That was actually reported by Elliot Friedman. And so
I just saw it on
thing is that that's an actual thing, and it was talked about over here because even I said it, like, this sounds like tampering. This sounds a lot like tampering.
All day.
And the league sent out a memo like 3 weeks ago to the team saying, like, we better not catch you tampering because or else
right. Yeah.
But the thing is, Vegas is going to be like, what are you going to do, man? We ain't got no picks. So
thanks. Come
what
get
are you
it.
going to do? Remove their 2030 first round pick?
I love it. It's like in the playoffs when the refs call one minor penalty, they're never going to call a second penalty in that same place. So everybody starts going crazy again, So let's look at the who's who of the list of the unrestricted free agents. Number one on the board is Mitch Marner's name. It's a pretty simple game. I'm going to drop the names. Marco D'Amico is going to tell us where this player ultimately lands as far as he's concerned today. So number one on the board is Mitch Marner. Where's Mitch Marner going?
Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. Sign and trade style?
Yes. Well,
yes.
I think at this point, regardless, he's ending up there.
Number two on the board is Stanley Cup champ Brad Marchand. Now,
I think he stays in Florida.
You do, eh? Because
he stays in Florida.
It seems
like Florida's going to make it work.
Leafs would make.
Yeah, I think. Agreed.
Yeah,
but I just feel like the Leafs want a lot.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, like Florida, like you have a chance to three-peat there. If they give him term, I'm sure he'll stick. We'll see if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I mean, geez, who knows? But I just get this feeling that they got Bennett done. They'll get Marchand done. And Ekblad's the one that's going to walk.
Ekblad's going, yes. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to say he's going to Toronto. I think the Leafs are going to overpay. Like, Marchand's camp has been very vocal, like, about the wants and needs of their player. Like, they still think
if they want to overpay for him, go for it. No problem. Toronto, I'm not saying he's not worth it, but I'm just saying Brad Marchand is the kind of player that looks really good around star players.
Yes.
Without necessarily being a star player himself anymore.
I don't have a problem with that take. One player I still have him high on my radar. I just think he's priced out of the Canadiens. Is Winnipeg Jets forward, we'll see where he lands up, is Nick Ehlers. As we move down the UFA board, Mitch Marner, number one, Brad Marchand, number two. Let's talk about 29-year-old forward, 24 goals in 69 games. Looking at an $8 million per year type contract. He says he wants to hit the market. Where do you have Nick Ehlers landing?
Carolina.
Oh, good call.
I think Carolina, they feel like they need to add a little bit more punch, and they're willing to spend some money. And I heard that they were willing to throw some serious money at a guy like Mitch Marner. So if they miss out on Marner, well, they're going to turn around and try to spend money probably on the next best thing. And I feel like Nick Ehlers kind of fits that style that they play, that predicated on more speed, a little bit more skill than most teams. And, they're going to have the cap to do it. They have so much money coming off the books right now. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to have no choice but to be very aggressive in free agency.
Do you think Nick Ehlers fits the bill of what Jeff Gorton is looking at in terms of a winger that can drive a line if they can't get that 2C they need?
Yes, but I don't think that the situation is ripe for that kind of a pay. And I'll explain myself. When you have a guy like him, he's going to be asking for max term, 7 years, and he's going to be asking for $8+ million, right? Are you going to be really comfortable paying him $8+ million 5 or 6 years down the line for a player that already has, a substantial injury history, right? And that's my thing with wingers, right? You saw this with Max Pacioretty, for example. When Vegas traded for him, they signed him right away to this huge contract, 4 years, $7 million. And he had 2 good seasons and then just began to taper off because the Canadiens didn't feel like they needed to sign him long term. And he felt that he was owed a lot more money long term. And more often than not, unless you have wingers with elite IQ, and I'm thinking, of course, about a guy like Brad Marchand, for example, it's very rare for them to continue to be as effective even halfway through their contract when they sign at the 29, 30-year-old range. And that's why I'm always, unless you are a contending team, I'm always iffy. Like if the Canadiens had an Ehlers player coming down the pipe in 2 years and still needed a center, a top 6 winger, I'd understand it. But they are not at that point yet. Like if Ehlers was a center, I'd get it. But he's not. And so like that's where that's why I say a team like Carolina is probably going to be a team that's going to be very aggressive in getting him, because putting him with, a guy like Svechnikov and Aho could be very attractive. And then you can move down to Seth Jarvis to the second line.
Right. When we go through the top unrestricted free agents, we've gone through the 3 of the remaining 7, 4 are defensemen, starting with Aaron Ekblad. We go down the list to Gavrikov. We've spoken about him, Provorov, Orlov. My question around these potential UFA defensemen is, where does Mike Matheson slot in there? Are those cases going to have to be resolved before Mike Matheson? Like if the Canadiens are dead set on trying to move him, I don't know if they are or not, but let's play pretend for a second.
Dead set.
So those 4 UFA defensemen and Mike Matheson, want to connect the dots for me there. What has to happen there? Do those guys go before Matheson?
I think they, if a Matheson deal were to happen, I think it's because a lot of the chips are already off the table.
Okay.
I think that would be the key for me. So if you look at a guy like Gavrikov, if you look at a guy like Orlov, if you look at a guy like Provorov, for example, these guys would have to go. I think Byram would have to also be off the market. Condre Miller would have to be off the market. My sense is Gavrikov is signing in New York. I think that's like the most unapologetic secret on the planet right now in terms of what we're hearing with him in terms of, the fit. And I think that's one of the main reasons why the Rangers cleared cap space in the first place. And now here we are, and we'll see what could happen from that. But yeah, I think a Matheson is a fallback plan in the end.
Compared to some of those other more vaunted defensemen that are out there. You don't have to trade for them. Once the market opens on July 1st, they're there. Also in the top 10 of UFAs, and does he fit the bill for the Montreal Canadiens? Can we connect Mikael Granlund at 33 years of age to the Montreal Canadiens as a legitimate option? He's in the top 10 of most UFA boards that I see, riffing off dailyfaceoff.com, where they have him currently at 7th. Walk me through Granlund, 33, 22 goals. Maybe you can get him for $10 million over 2 years, $5 million a year. Your thoughts on Granlund connected to the Canadiens? Does it make sense?
I don't see it. With Tavares now off the market, Duchesne now off the market, I think he's the top center available. And the way that I would position it, or the way that I would see it, is a team desperate for center is going to take a serious run at him. And I'm thinking one of those teams, probably the Minnesota Wild, who are also still holding on to a guy like Marco Rossi, despite, all the discussion about him, and the fact that he's an RFA this summer. There's even a chance that Marco Rossi gets offer sheeted at this point, right? Because he is an RFA and does want out and wants a team to sign him long term. So could be interesting in that regard. But I think they would love to move on from him, and a reunion with a guy like Michael Granlund could make a lot of sense there, because they do need a more offensive center, and they want to bring in a guy that's going to help convince Kirill Kaprizov that they're serious about contending in the near future.
Yeah, I got one more name, and then we'll let you go. Rumors that the Canadiens are looking for a veteran backup. What about Jake Allen?
Jake Allen is going to be the most coveted goalie on the market. look for teams that are very aggressive in trying to get goaltending depth right now to look at him now that Gibson is off the market. So I know the Philadelphia Flyers are looking for a goalie right now that could be of interest. There are a couple of teams out west. We know that, because of his Hockey Canada connection, I could almost assure you that the Edmonton Oilers will look into him as they try to mix up their goaltending tandem a little bit. So that's definitely going to be something in the cards. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here. Like I would argue there's at least 4 or 5 teams that are probably going to throw bigger money at him than the contract that just expired, which was at $3.8 million.
Yeah.
That's my guess. And I would just be shocked, like floored, if he were not signed within the first hour of July 1st.
Sounds like you're not expecting much out of the Canadiens camp once the market opens up.
I am expecting the Canadiens to make some low-key signings, some help in Laval, potentially a bottom 6 signing now that they've moved out a guy like Heineman.
Okay.
And if there is a potential for a low-key center signing, then I don't necessarily think that they'll look away. I'm just saying that they're going to look into improving on a low-key level. I don't see them being big players on this market.
Marco D'Amico, outstanding work from Los Angeles. Thanks so much, as always. Now enjoy some much-deserved downtime on the sunny, they say it's the best coast, on the West Coast. Marco D'Amico with RG Media, thank you so much, brother. Have a great holiday. Enjoy the sunshine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great week.